Um, well, I hope you enjoyed lunch. You're probably tired by now, but I would appreciate if you stay with me now and give me your attention. I appreciate that very much. I think, first of all, I would like to thank the CSSConf Budapest team for making this amazing event. I think they deserve if you give it up for them one time. They're so great. So my deepest thanks to them for having me, and thanks to you too. My name is Mauricio Palma, and I was born and raised in Costa Rica and living in the beautiful city of Hamburg for the past 11 years. I'm also a UI developer at Sinashkara, working with a colorful range of clients, mostly the big brands out there, and I must admit we're doing a lot of exciting projects nowadays. I'm also co-founder of Wood Like Ocean. At Wood Like Ocean, we craft swimwear out of ocean-recovered fishing nets. And together with several organizations and divers, we're collecting ghost fishing nets to use them in our products. So to be quite honest with you, I think I'm one of the spoiled kids of the web, even though I'm 36 years old. And what I mean with that is, I started developing sites. I started for 6 years, my first sites and apps for the web. So I was not around in 1991 when Tim Berners-Lee announced HTML. At the time, there was no method for styling web pages. Neither was I around in 1996 when Hacken V. Lee first introduced the first official specification of CSS Level 1, which is the same year in which Macromedia introduced Flash. So it was pretty much at the same time when Brenda and I developed JavaScript in just 10 days, going through a lot of corporate and marketing reinventions like Mocha and LiveScript. So now, I was not around during these exciting and turbulent times of the wild, wild web. I could enjoy working with HTML5, CSS3, ES5, Harmony, and all the amazing APIs that the browser provides for us today. So life has been good to me. At least I thought so when I started out. And as it turned out, after gathering some years of experience, I realized I was not quite right. I spent countless hours trying to find performance techniques to manipulate the quirkiness of the DOM, researching all kinds of techniques to generate smooth animations, trying desperately to get CSS to work smoothly with JavaScript. Second. So, time goes by. And you gather some experience within your possibilities and try to work yourself around all these things. And don't get me wrong, I love doing what I do, and it's the same love I had since day one. And like you just heard, speaking is something relatively new to me. And as you probably noticed, my first talk ever, I think I had 3 talks in my life, and this is a real special one. It is my first one. And it all started with my friend Gregor Adams, also known with the handle Pixelass, who actually invited me to co-host a CSS Variables talk at an internal Sinashkara technical offsite. And this is how I started experimenting, playing around, and actually using CSS variables. And I must say, it changed the way I write my CSS today. So it's been a busy, exciting journey, and I would like, in a very humble way, to inspire you from what I have learned in this journey. Hopefully, at the end of this talk, you will take back 1 or 2 techniques that you could use at your own work. That would be the best. So it is, we should be looking some little stars in the background, but anyways, we're getting into that. It is this desire to find hidden information that will allow us to change the way we work today, the way we write our CSS today, to be always hungry for more information. So in the screen, there is a hidden message. And let's find out what it is. So we're using the spotlight. A New Hope. And that's the name of this talk that I prepared for you. And hopefully, I can demonstrate how elegant and powerful CSS variables can be. So I'm using SVGs for this example. So let's go through the example, see how we made that, and decided to create the animation, like I said, with an SVG and CSS variables. The New Hope headline is an SVG path. And to achieve this spotlight effect, I'm using 4 different SVG circles using custom properties to define their positioning within the SVG view box. As you can see, property names are prefixed with a hyphen minus notation, and it contains a value that can be reused. These are the custom properties. If we take a look at the values, we see we have the radius, pretty much the size of the circle. We have a CX custom property, which is the positioning in the x-axis, and the same goes for CY. By using the var function, we can access the values we previously assigned at root level. This would be the positioning of all circles using the conceal spot class. And all of them are currently positioned in the middle. So we can only see one circle. So we're styling all 4 circles. They're stacked behind each other. But if we reflect for a moment and think about the custom property spec, you'll find something like custom properties are ordinary CSS properties. And what that means is that they are resolved with the same inheritance and cascade rules. So if we take this information to our, one second. Okay, by using this information to our advantage, we can make all circles visible, giving them a new position. And, but instead of overriding the rule declaration, we can reassign the custom property with a new value in an element with a higher specificity. That's a hard word, but it kind of worked out right now. So in that case, in this case, we can use the nonth type pseudo-class element to recursively reassign the new value, leading us into this result. So there's one last thing we need in our CSS to achieve the spotlight effect. So we will be using the clip path property, referring to the 4 SVG clip path elements. What these 4 elements contain are the extracted letter sections of the New Hope headline. This will be the clip regions of each circle, leading us to this effect. And now it is time for magic. But not the kind of magic when you don't know why code is behaving in a certain way, not that. So in my opinion, this is one of the most powerful features of CSS variables. Custom properties are available at runtime, making them accessible at all times in JavaScript, to JavaScript. And every time I say that, I get so excited. Think about it for a minute. Did you reflect on that? I hope so. It is very important. In order to simplify the explanation of what is going on in JavaScript, I will focus only on the custom properties. If you want to take a look at what different techniques I'm using in JavaScript, you can take a look at the code pens that there will be available. And I also prepared a little code pen collection for this conference. And you can see what's going on under the hood. So for now, we'll be listening to the mouse move event. Read and calculate values in relation to the SVG view box. And the real fun is happening on that update function. By just using the set property method, we're able to write and update the custom property values at the root of the document. So we can take a look at the effect one more time. And this is how we achieve that effect. Thanks to custom properties, we can do that. So I close my eyes to old ends and open my heart to new beginnings. Oops, sorry. No. So I don't think I get tired of repeating these, but custom properties being available at runtime open a whole new world of possibilities. And in my pursuit to illustrate this for you, I prepared this galaxy animation using HTML, CSS, and just a bit of JavaScript. But for now, it's enough. So yeah, after a while, you cannot hear the sound. It gets really annoying. But so what I want to do is create an animation for every single star, something like a circular translation from the X and Z axis. So if we take a look at that, this is what we want to do with a single star. And for this, I'm actually running a timeline from 0 to 1. And this is my actual counter. And if you can look at the button, by including this in my sine and cosine custom properties, I can achieve this wished circular transition. And it's a little bit janky, and I've been having problems with my speaker notes at slides. If somebody knows the reason of it, can tell me about later. It's been a pain. So you have to trust me, it's actually more smooth. But anyways, I emphasized in the word transition because such animations, we want to focus on hitting the 60 frames per second mark, and we don't want to re-trigger or repaint. First of all, the reason for this is that today's devices refresh their screen 60 times per second. That means that if there's a transition running, the browser needs to match the device refresh rate. And that's what you should always achieve too. But hitting 60 frames per second mark with one element, it is not that hard. Now, in order to demonstrate the differences, I did two examples. And the first one would be without CSS variables. I think the way you would normally do it. And it looks like something like this. We spread the stars or the elements across the x-axis and the z-axis with, the x-axis and the y-axis with position absolute. We're achieving depth by using the translate Z. And because we want to animate the stars using transform, I have to iterate over 250 elements, retrieve their CSS translate Z value, and save it in an array that is referenced with the name Z-axis list. So I have to iterate one more time, map the values of the translate Z or our array, and write the new translation. All of it in an endless 60 times request animation frame loop. And it already sounds so expensive. So if we take a look, and we check out the frames per second now. Can you see it? No, so I will have to read it for you. I cannot even see it myself. But something 24, 22, and you see it is janky. So it's a lot of operations for the browser to do. So let's close this and continue. Now, I want to create the same animation using CSS variables. And with CSS variables, it is much more elegant and intuitive. I don't have to iterate over the DOM. I don't have to retrieve any values from the DOM. At the end, I just need to update and write the values for my sine and cosine variables. That's it. It's pretty simple. Our CSS remains in our CSS and not as inline styles in our DOM. And this is one of the reasons I love custom properties or CSS variables so much. But like in any journey, I encounter some difficulties, and I will not lie to you. It was not all sunshine and rainbows. With the CSS variables implementation at first, I was not hitting the 60 frames per second mark. And I started freaking out, like I'm here talking to you about CSS variables and performance, and I don't even achieving or reaching my own expectations. So as it turns out, pseudo elements with filter, CSS filter like blur and brightness are super expensive to animate. So I had to change my styling strategy. Now the stars are not looking so good as originally, but like in life, you have to make sometimes compromises. So let's take a look at the example. So it's a little janky. I will close my speaker notes because I want you to experience the real animation. So give me 1 second. I don't know if it's going to be a good idea, but let's do that. When it's not better. We will check the frames per second. And we are 57, 58, almost there. But you should always try to hit the 60 frames per second mark. Now we will close this. And we continue. So I started wondering, what if we try the new stars tragedy with the first demo without CSS variables? And not so surprisingly, I was able to actually hit the 60 frames per second mark. So I actually realized the browser is actually so powerful that you can animate all these divs, all these elements in the DOM, and still can reach a 60 frames per second animation. So let's take a look at that. And we are 58, 59, almost there. 58, almost there. But always looking for 60, very important. Now, this is what I love the most about CSS variables beyond anything else. That's what I think is the most powerful feature, and is their ability and elegance to interact with web devices APIs in a declarative manner. UI development is changing and it's changing at a rapid pace. So when we speak about responsive, we're speaking more about an interface interacting to the user context more than just the layout composition adapting to a viewport width. That's what actually responsive should be meaning today. So if we take this animated galaxy interface, how could we contextualize our current showcase? And maybe we could move the perspective of the galaxy according to our device orientation and then give us this look that we're on a spaceship. It sounded like a good example for me, so let's give it a try. So with the assistance of a little WebSocket server and client, I will be able to give you the same mobile experience on the screen. And maybe with a little bit of latency, we will have to see. So for now, we will listen to the device orientation event. For us, there are only two values that are relevant at the moment. And the device orientation actually returns 4 different values, but we will focus on 2 for now. The alpha is pretty much the movement of the device in the z-axis. It is perpendicular to the ground, and you can imagine it like a line that goes to the middle of the Earth. It returns the value around 0 and 360 degrees. Beta, on the other way, returns the degree value from -180 to 180 degrees. And for our CSS, this is all what we will need for it to work. So let's give it a try. I need a second to actually start my server. This is not for real. I just... one second. Well, I hope I can show you this. If not, this would be really sad. 1 second, please. So 1 second, if it doesn't work, we just leave it for now. I'll try one more time. Okay, that's great. So we're ready to go. So we have the server running. Now we'll connect to the server with my mobile device. Unfortunately, you cannot see it really good, but like I said, all the examples are in code 10, so if you want to take a look at it. Now, I'm moving my device, and it's nothing happening. What's going on? Actually moving the device. I have a little latency, but as you can see, we can use in a declarative manner, use our CSS to actually interact with it. crazy with the music, and let's continue. So this talk is reaching to an end. But I have one last showcase. I hope it works because we did it like in the last minute. For you, or maybe for me, so I'm not sure about it. So I've been obsessed lately with contextualizing interfaces. And I thought, what if we contextualize the result of this presentation? So I prepared an emoji happy meter. And it's using the audio API. I'm using CSS Variables and SVGs. And this is how it works. So the result completely depends on you. So if you like, let's take a look. If you like what you just heard, you have to give it up, and you have to give it up real loud. So come, let's try it. Okay. I make it smile. Let's try it again. One more time. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I would say that went really, really well for your first talk. Congratulations.